There is a huge list of reasons that the video game industry is losing sales. You have bad business practices, you have console wars, you have censorship, all of these things play a really big part in that. Video game revenue is headed for its first decline since 1995, with sales expected to fall 1% to 136.5 billion this year. Which doesn't mean the world is going to hell, don't worry about that. It just means that for the first time, the industry hasn't actually grown year by year since 1995. And it's due to a lot of different things, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. First of all, two of the major consoles are nearing the end of their life cycles. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch isn't part of this conversation. Nintendo is just doing fine over there in their little corner. That leads to the limited opportunities for the market to actually sell those consoles. Since no new first-party titles are actually being developed for Microsoft and Sony, it's probably going to be a slower 2020 as well, unless we see the announcement this year and we actually see the releases of consoles in 2020. That is the expected release, is in 2020. Or at least that's the winning speculation at this point in time. Secondly, companies over the past year have really changed their ways. You have Activision, Ubisoft, EA, all of these companies have gotten really, really greedy this year. And they used to be the companies that were actually really reliable, and I know myself as a consumer, I'd put my faith into them to deliver a transparent and good marketplace in gaming, along with amazing game releases to be brought to all of the major systems. Every single company tried to put small microtransactions into their games, and then companies like these pushed and pushed until now they're like the devil. If there's any sort of microtransactions, you're going to lose a huge chunk of sales you could get because of these bad business practices, and of course your game is going to get flooded online, and there's going to be a lot more problems for you even if you add in small little microtransactions that might have actually been in previous games. That doesn't matter if it is a history in your previous games. If it is going to be in a game now, there's going to be a lot of problems and a lot of heat onto that situation. And then the third problem that has contributed to the revenue loss in the industry: censorship, a topic we are all so familiar with. In 2018, China actually had their 9-month period of not approving new games, and since China is one of the largest consumers of games, that had a huge impact on the industry, probably more than a lot of day-to-day people that are just casual gamers or even hardcore gamers that don't look into this stuff actually realize. While it was going on, we didn't actually have a full painted picture of how serious it actually was. Tencent's stock dropped by almost 30%, I believe, in 2018, which wiped out more than $160 billion in market value because of those 9 months of not actually issuing licenses on games. And censorship became a very big part of the Western world in gaming too, not just in places like China, of course. Look at Sony, for instance. They have been very strict on censorship since they actually changed their policies, and we've seen companies like Valve with Steam follow this too. And I'm not a fool, I'm gonna be honest. Censorship has been around since the beginning of the industry, but we've become so much more aware of what is and isn't censored because we know what we want to purchase, what we want to spend our hard-earned cash on, and we're not living in the novel 1984. We don't want to deal with censorship. This year, more games actually got refused onto platforms due to not meeting content policies than any other year in the past 10 years, and I expect this trend to follow with 2019, actually. I mean, you had Valve, you had Sony, you had Microsoft with censor heavy at the beginning of the year, and the problem has even been further than just censorship. It even reaches the fact that policies have been so vague, so developers get their games refused on said platform or told to change them due to them not meeting the actual policy standards. It's a mixture of censorship in games, but it's also a very big mix of these vague policies that actually cause a really big problem. Do I think that the downward spiral of the gaming industry's revenue will continue? No. I think that 1 year out of 24 isn't actually hurting the industry as much as some people might think. Whether it's practically scamming your consumers to buy boxes with the 1 in 50 chance to obtain the good item out of it, or the fact that companies are trying to become more politically correct and create more family-friendly and diverse atmospheres, I do think that the companies themselves will be hurt by these poor decisions, though. I think with new games consoles coming out, hopefully we will see less censorship due to people speaking up on their opinions about it. I do think that 2019 might be a difficult year for the future to come, but honestly, I think that we will prevail and nothing is really going to come out of this besides maybe the first decline for the past 24 years, but it's not like the decline is going to be very steep. A decline is a decline when it comes to industries like this, but it is not as bad as the comic book industry's decline, so I think that we are going to be just fine. But that is all that I wanted to talk about today, you guys. I really wanted to focus on all of the aspects of why the gaming industry has really began to decline, and why I think that this year we're going to see a decline, but I think that it will go just back to normal in 2020. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, and of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either which way, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys again really soon.